that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska
and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion,
and I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of the State Highway Commissioner
perform the duties of the office of the State Highway Commissioner
according to the law and to the best of my ability.
according to the law and to the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate,
And I do further swear that I do not advocate,
nor am I a member of any political party or organization
nor am I a member of any political party or organization
that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States
that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States
or this state by force or violence,
or this state or of this state by force or violence,
and that during such time that I am in this position,
and that during such time that I am in this position,
I will not advocate or become a member
I will not advocate nor become a member
of any political party or organization
of any political party or organization
that advocates the overthrow of the government
that advocates the overthrow of the government
of the United States or this state
of the United States or this state
by force or violence,
by force or violence, by force
So-
or violence.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you and congratulations, Commissioner Grinsky.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for breaking it up too.
Okay. I guess is Mo there? Deputy Director has some remarks for us.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Good
All
morning,
right.
Mo.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Congratulations, Alec. That was an interesting swearing, and we haven't heard one of those in a long time. I've forgotten how long that thing is, but I want to congratulate you again and welcome you to the Highway Commission. So this morning, I just want to bring you all up to date on a few things, as I'm still the acting director for the Department of Transportation. I believe the governor's teams is working really hard to select a new director, and I hope to hear something soon. But meanwhile, the business of the DOT continues. I want to kind of brief you on a few topics that we pretty much have talked about in the past, but just give you a little update on them. Our long-range transportation plan, the LRTP, it's well on its way, as you know. And in fact, today is the last day for public comment. And if I assume all of you all have gotten the chance to go in there to make your comments about this plan. Remember, this is a long-term plan, goes to 2040. So the more input we get from people like yourselves and the public, the more successful we're going to be identifying the needs and the areas that we need to be emphasizing in the next 20 some years. So if you haven't, please go ahead and make your comments. The other thing is legislative session is well on its way. We are frantically and scrambling, trying to figure out what bills are being introduced every day. In fact, just this morning, I walked to my office. There's 3 new ones sitting on my chair for me to review. So things are going pretty well. The DOT this year, we, with the help of Senator Friesen, we introduced a bill that would basically make life easier, I think, for most Nebraskans. This bill has kind of got a 3, 4 parts to it, but the main couple of parts is one, we're going to streamline the way the county and the municipality superintendent licensing works. Right now, it's pretty complicated. There are different kinds of licenses for different groups of people, and we're going to streamline where if you're a license in one county, and a license A, for example, you don't have to have the other one. And we think we're going to eliminate a whole lot of duplication by folks who are being licensed and make it easy for everybody to implement it every year. The other piece of this legislation is to increase the threshold for vehicular accidents. So if you've been in one lately, knock on wood, I haven't been involved in one for the last 10 years, that you have to fill out a accident record, and the next person has to do it, and the officer has to do one in some cases. Our bill is going to streamline that. First of all, it's going to raise the threshold from $1,000 estimate to a $1,500. And then if now everybody has to fill that report, but now if the police officer is filling the report, then the other two parties don't have to. So that's going to make things quite easier for everybody else. There are also a couple of bills that have been introduced. We kind of get this every year, maybe different versions of it. That's going to give the DOT some kind of flexibility into selling bonds to do infrastructure work. I haven't had a chance to thoroughly understand and read all of them yet, but just on its face value, we like to kind of pay as we go. It always makes me nervous to obligate the future dollars for today's project. And the reason for that is it just takes the flexibility away from us to respond to the emerging needs of the state. So we like to be a little bit nimble and be able to get things done when unforeseen things happen sometimes. And if our hands are tied and a lot of the funding has been obligated for the projects, it makes it a little difficult. So there's a couple of bills there that we need to work on. As you may know, this is the time of the year when we start looking at our construction project for the next fiscal year. So fiscal 2022 starts July 1, and our team is hard at it trying to identify what kind of a construction program we're going to have next fiscal year. I believe yesterday the district engineers all got their allocation limitation, so they're going to be finalizing their program in the next few months. So stay tuned, and you got any questions, I encourage you to talk to your DE on that. On the funding front, the traffic volume has gone back to pre-pandemic level pretty much. That allowed us actually, by the reduction of the variable gas tax, to lower the gas at the pump from 33.2 cents before January 1 to down to 28.7. So that's good news. So we need lower rates to meet our appropriation. We continue to work on getting reimbursed for the flooding projects of 2019. We see a little light at the tunnel through the tunnel, so we hope that we're going to get something done in the next couple of months to get some commitments from the Corps of Engineers and others that we're going to get some of that funding back. Hopefully there won't be any more delays, I hope. And as you may know, the last December, or just a few weeks ago, we got another COVID stimulus. This one actually sets aside $10 billion for the transportation of every DOT. Of that, about 70 million is going to come our way. This is federal funds with no requirement for match, but the rules on it are being written as we speak. We're working really closely with our federal highway administration partners to figure out what all the rules are, and once we know, we'll let you know. And this money will be sort of kind of divided between Nebraska, DOT, City of Lincoln, and Omaha. And I expect from the 70 million, a little over 60 million will come to DOT. The rest will be divided in the other two. And finally, I want to reiterate our talk about our Buckle Up Phone Down initiative. Things are heating up. We have launched our Buckle Up Phone Down on the social platforms, and we encourage everybody to participate. We've got schools and businesses who are now participating in the program, which is good news. And we've actually secured some advertising time during the at ESPN, actually during the March Madness. So we're excited about that, and we are actually going to declare one of the weeks of the March as a Buckle Up Phone Down week, which we're going to do yet more awareness activities. With that, I am going to turn it back to you, Jim, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you, Mo. Are there any questions?
Mo, what was the legislative bill numbers for the pieces of legislation you referenced earlier?
Oh boy.
If you don't have them handy, that's okay.
I'll email that to you, but they are that our bill is 174. The LB 174 is the DOT's bill that's going to make some streamlining, and then the rest of them they're just being introduced. So Sarah will email that to you right after we're done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess we'll proceed. Our next item on the agenda is the election of the 2021 Commission Chair and Vice Chair. And if we want to follow the order we have over the years, Commissioner Wolford and Fagerlund, Jerome Fagerlund would be next. So we need a motion for individuals for chair and vice chair, and then we need a vote to approve the motion. I open up the commission at this time to nominate a new chair and vice chair.
I nominate Greg Wolford as our chair and Jerome Fagerlund as our vice chair.
Second.
Okay. Sarah, please call the question.
Commissioner Koppel,
Yes.
Commissioner Grinsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Leafgreen, Commissioner Leafgreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerlund,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford,
Yes.
Commissioner Gertis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kindig.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. The next on the agenda is MDSS, that's Maintenance Decision Support System for weather forecast, winter operations. Ty Barger. Ty?
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Ty Barger, and I'm going to share my screen so I can present the presentation I have prepared for you all. You should see my cover slide now. As stated previously, I'll be covering MDSS and winter operations in general. maintenance decision support system is a tool set that we utilize in Nebraska as well as 11 other partner states. And this is what you see on the screen, an official definition of what that technology does for us. Stated another way, much more simply, it aids us in achieving our desired levels of service with the least amount of resources. And it does this a number of ways. Very generally, these are the ways in which we utilize MDSS to improve our services to the public. We have pre-storm planning of staff, materials, and equipment. Nowcasting, which provides a common operational picture across the state, everything that's going on throughout our state in real-time conditions, equipment locations, also post-storm activities, which I think is probably one of the most valuable aspects of the technology. It allows us to do performance assessments. How well did we do during that storm? How can we do better? And also it aids us in budget preparation. There are, as I stated a moment ago, 11 other states that have partnered with us in the MDSS pool fund, and collectively we are working to put somebody on the moon, so to speak. We're not there yet, but we have made a quantum leap forward in our from our legacy practices and procedures throughout the state. MDSS utilizes what's called the high caps pavement model, and it draws inputs from many different sources that you can see depicted by the images on this screen here. The high caps pavement model includes atmospheric, surface, subsurface data, as well as historical, current, and forecasted weather. The high caps pavement model helps us to determine what we should be doing right now and what we should be planning for. And I'll give you a very brief overview of some of the features in MDSS. What you're looking at right now is a screen grab from May 29th, 2019. So MDSS is not exclusively a winter maintenance tool, but it is something that we use extensively throughout the winter and all year round. So just to give you an idea of some of the graphical displays that you can see in red, I've highlighted some of the menu items that I'm going to be scrolling through here momentarily. Presently, you see the overlay depicting hourly precipitation. This is wet precipitation, of course, because the image was taken in the month of May, and the routes are lit up with road conditions. You can see the legend on the right here, so you, immediately you can assess the conditions of the roadway across the entire state of Nebraska. And looking at the exact same image in a little bit different way, here you have radar and mobility index. Next slide, you have wind speeds and road temperature. So there's a great deal of different variables that you can set up on this machine, depending on what it is you want to see. Another tool that MDSS provides is what we call the heads-up display. This allows the user to see what they can anticipate graphically here at the top of the screen, and what the system is recommending that we do for maintenance activities along this timeline. And this is very specific and customized for every single route segment. So depending on which route segment you want to see, you'll see customized data in this display. And just another example of some of the kinds of information that you're able to get out of MDSS. So looking on the left margin of the screen, you see our pavement profile, which actually shows subsurface and surface temperatures throughout that route segment. So a great deal of very important information is being pulled together. What you see on the screen now is a screenshot from the touch screen that is on the monitor installed inside the plow truck. We have 700 plow trucks that service the state's highways, and in every one of them we have an MDSS unit with a touch screen so that the operator can actually interface with the system and provide updates. And another screen on the operator touch screen, they very quickly are able to go through and identify what's actually happening on the roadway and inform MDSS. So if it doesn't agree with what MDSS says is happening, then MDSS will take the input from the operator and update accordingly. As a supervisor, you can utilize MDSS to see where your equipment is, where it's going, where it's been. Here you can see a breadcrumb trail for a particular plow truck, one single plow truck. And again, this is another screen grab that I took some time ago. And if this was a live screen, you could hit this little table button right here and look at the exact same information in a different way as such. And when you look at this information, you might wonder, why did my plow truck come to a halt at 9:30 in the morning? And you can find out very quickly by selecting the camera icon for that time slot. And you can see, well, my truck just pulled into the yard to grab something. But you can imagine how handy this tool is when doing something like a mishap investigation. You want to know exactly when that truck came to a halt and what it was seeing at the time immediately before and after that mishap. And these are all dash cam images recorded from trucks, and you can see the value of this kind of information, not just to us, but also the traveling public. Winter maintenance costs are represented on this pie chart. Very generally speaking, we budget $40 million per year for winter maintenance. And long-term, we anticipate MDSS costing the state about 4% of that. We have not yet fully matured this program, and so we haven't really spent the full 4% yet, because a big portion of this MDSS cost is equipment replacement, and because our equipment is so new still, we haven't fully geared up for replacing that equipment, as it has not yet aged out. But long term, we expect that MDSS would be about a 4% share of the total winter maintenance costs. And I'll offer to the group that I think that is a very smart investment, because the more you look at your data and let your people know that you're looking at the data, the more careful and thoughtful they are in consumption of their materials. And we see a great deal of benefit coming from this tool set. A couple final thoughts on MDSS. We have a multitude of training videos that are available to staff so they can learn this. It's not a quick study. It's something that requires some practice and an upfront investment of time for our leadership to get proficient with the system and understand all the different values that it provides to our decision makers. Here's a placeholder for a live demo. And now what you see on the screen right now is an actual live version of MDSS. This is what's happening right now in the state. And I'll just leave this here and not go into any detail, except to show you that you can select on a specific route and get that detailed information that I was explaining a little bit ago. Now I'm going to transition and talk about some different tools that MDSS provides us, some analysis tools. This is our MDSS performance analysis dashboard. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is, as of right now, this is the readiness of our fleet of equipment across the entire state. And you can drill down and find out very specifically where we need to focus our time and energy. This is department-wide. Select on the next tab, you can look at individual equipment. Here's all 8 districts. I want to drill down a little bit. Let's take a look at District 4. And here are all the different yards in District 4 and their readiness by yard. You can look at a yard more specifically. These are the 6 plow trucks that are assigned to the Kearney I-80 yard. And you can see of the 6 trucks, one of them is not reporting a spreader status presently. So as the supervisor at the Kearney I-80 yard, I now know where I need to focus my time and attention in order to get my equipment ready for the next storm. I presume everybody is familiar with 511. This is a very popular application for the public and for everybody here in the department as well. One feature that we added recently was the plow tracker application, which I also have open. This shows where our plow trucks are in real time, but it does not show the trucks that are static or parked and been sitting idle. So on this screen, you see far more trucks. This is the MDSS screen. And what the public sees are only the trucks that are on the move. And if you were to select on any one of these trucks, you can see exactly what that truck is saying. So in real time, the public can look and see what the condition of the roads are across the state. Two final observations for MDSS. As I indicated before, there's a big investment of time here for the leadership, especially because it takes probably a good 8 to 16 hours of solid training on this in order to get an initial proficiency with the system. And the final observation is we must make this investment. The better informed our decisions are, the better we're going to provide services for the public. And we understand this, and this is going to continue to be a very great asset that's going to provide increased benefit the more we utilize it. Now I'll move on to salt management. This is a term that I use very broadly to address all of our de-icer materials that we utilize in providing winter maintenance services. And another live demo queued up for you all. What we're looking at now is yet another dashboard that we have designed to help us manage our de-icing materials. Very, very important that we do so, because if we don't watch it carefully, the cost will climb very, very quickly. So on this screen, you see lots of different commodities that are utilized across the state. In the top left, you have a specialty salt that a few of our districts really value a lot and get some good value out of. And this yellow graph represents all of our bulk salt, to include that specialty salt. And on the bottom left, you see who uses beet juice historically. District 3 has used a great deal of beet juice over the last several years. And the green graph in the bottom middle here represents our magnesium chloride consumption across the state. On the right, you have the average snowfall by district, and on the bottom right, you have the lane miles by district. And I want to keep this graph open, and now what you have is two identical copies of the same chart. I'm going to explain why here in a moment, but on the left is the graph that I just got done explaining to you, and on the right is identical in every single way. And at the bottom of these two dashboards, at the bottom of this dashboard, you see different tabs for different functions. And I'm going to keep the one on the left on the usage, and the one on the right, I'm going to move to expenses so that you can refer back to the usage graph in a moment. So while on the left, we talk about consumption, on the right, we're talking about actual dollars out the door. In the bottom left-hand corner of this graph, you see in red depicting average material expense by district. This is regardless of snowfall inches or lane miles. This is just total dollars out the door by district on winter maintenance materials. The graph directly above it shows material expense per lane mile. And the goal here is to develop an apples to apples comparison between the districts to find out who has the best practices, and then let's replicate those practices. So once we understand the cost per lane mile by district, we moved on to cost per district for each inch of snowfall. And so we're developing the picture slowly. And then in the green graph, the bottom center of this chart, I'll blow this up for a moment. This graph right here represents what I believe to be the closest to an apples comparison across the entire state. And you can expect that the districts that are primarily rural, districts 7 and 8, they're going to spend less than the metro area, the capital region, and that's to be expected. Lower concentration of urban areas, lower traffic counts. That's, I think, reasonable. And you look at these center districts here, 4, 5, and 6, and they have a lot of similarities. Districts 4, 5, and 6. They all three have a lot of rural area. They all three have a very large portion of the I-80 corridor, and District 5 in particular has some expressway as well. So one has to wonder, why is District 5 providing their services for significantly less cost than their neighbors, Districts 4 and 6? And to understand that question and develop an answer, it's important to have both tabs open at the same time so you can see the correlation between the green graph on this page and the yellow graph on the usage page. And if you look at these two graphs, you can see there's a great deal of correlation between these two. And so one can reasonably conclude that salt consumption relates to overall economy of material usage. And so if salt consumption is the reason why District 5 is able to provide their services for that amount of money, why then are they using less salt? And the answer is directly below this graph right here, I believe. Magnesium chloride usage. District 5 uses more magnesium chloride than the rest of the state combined. And the reason for that is quite simple. All de-icers perform more poorly when it gets colder. The colder it gets, the poorer our de-icers perform. Now, different chemicals all perform in different ways. Sodium chloride, it bottoms out at about -6 degrees, and the closer you get to that, the poorer it performs. Magnesium chloride has a much lower threshold for performance. It can suppress freezing temperatures at much lower temperatures. And so when it gets cold, District 5 is able to transition and incorporate magnesium chloride into their program to be able to melt ice more effectively than they would if all they had was sodium chloride. When all you have is sodium chloride and it gets really cold out, your only recourse is to pour more and more salt onto the highway, and that becomes very cost prohibitive when you don't have magnesium chloride to transition to. So this is information that has only recently been developed, and we are capitalizing on this knowledge. And now districts 2 and 3 are incorporating magnesium chloride into their program this year for the first time. So very excited about that development. It's not something that anybody can transition into very quickly, because there's a great deal of investment and time that goes into building up your liquid capability. We are talking about a liquid product, and we have to build up their liquid storage capacity in order to get them to where they need to be, but we're working on it. Let's see here. Okay, now I'm going to talk about our bulk salt contracts. This is the salt that we buy from 3 different mines in central Kansas. And what you're looking at is a very general description of how that contract had been set up. We awarded our contracts by region. So in yellow, you have districts 2 and 3. Green is districts 3 and 4. Red is districts 6, 7, and 8. And 5 had their own region. District 5 had their own region. And this is when we ordered off-peak salt. This is when we ordered peak salt. So key takeaway here is everybody in this entire region paid the same price per ton for salt. Each region paid one price per ton. And we made some modifications to our contract this last spring. And our contract now looks like this. We award by district, not by region. And we've required our bidders to bid every single yard location specifically, and awarded to the lowest bidder for each district. But by requiring those bidders to bid each yard individually and not provide one price per district or one price for the entire region, we are now saving over $550,000 every year just by requiring our bidders to be more specific in their bid. And one added bonus, I'm going to give you one more live demonstration of another dashboard that Mo had us develop a couple of years back to see how we are managing our operating funds. What you're seeing on the screen now is all funds by district and how they're being spent, and in blue is the snow and ice control. So as a function of the district's overall budget, you can see what percent of that has been spent on snow and ice control. Very handy tool. So now what you see on the screen is all the information that I've covered this morning, and I will be available for any questions. And I have with me Dale Ping, our fleet manager, should anybody have any questions or concerns about our equipment.
Are there any questions from the commissioners or? Well, Ty, thank you a lot. It's very interesting, technology at its best. So,
Yes, we're quite proud of it. Thank you.
yeah, I enjoyed the presentation immensely. So, well, if there's no more
Jim,
questions,
Jim,
yes,
this is Mo. Can I jump in?
sure.
First of all, I want to also thank Ty for the presentation. He's doing a great job since he's come to us a few years ago. And to also tell you, when you look at all of this technology that we have deployed across the state, it also will point to our challenges trying to get the right people recruited that can run these sophisticated equipment. And our snow fighters out in the state, they've stepped up and they've learned and they've gone through many classes. It's not easy for people to jump behind a vehicle of this. I've done it. If you ever do it in the middle of the winter, you'll see these folks are running the computer. They've got, it's almost like flying a jet anymore. You just want to sit there and be quiet and don't get involved, because they really are sophisticated, and all of this equipment basically does two things: more safety of our drivers and the traveling public, as well as savings. So every ounce of salt or whatever equipment we use is well thought out. It's not just dumped out of the back of the truck. It's well measured for the conditions. So again, thank you, Ty. Well done. And I want to plug all the DOMs, district operating managers, who are really the drivers of these. And I know the district engineers are demanding it, where everybody is ready to go every winter. And as a team, I think we've come a long ways.
Thank you, Mo. Well, I guess we'll proceed. Mike Owen is going to talk to us about the Northeast Omaha corridor study on US 75. So, Mike?
Actually, I think there might have been an error in the agenda, but I will be discussing the corridor study with you guys today. My name's Todd Hill. I am the project studies and survey engineer.
You know what? I'm sorry. I kind of skipped over this thing. Mike is doing the US, 192nd and Dodge.
Yes, Dodge, yep.
Yeah. Mike, are you there?
Actually, it's Bill Wheeling, one of the assistants. Yeah, I'm one of the assistant designers in roadway design. I'll be doing the presentation. Going to start it here. Hopefully you can see that. Can everyone see that presentation?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Very good. As I said, I'm one of the assistant design engineers in roadway design division, overseeing projects in 2 and 5. I'm here today to give you a status on the US 6 and 192nd Street interchange project. The need for this improvement is the planned development adjacent to the interchange, especially just south along 192nd Street. Project concept is to build a diverging diamond interchange, or DDI, at the intersection of US 6 or West Dodge Road and 192nd Street in Omaha. Project was identified in the Metro Area Travel Improvement Study, or MTIS.
Sorry to interrupt you. There's a gray box covering the presentation. I don't know, Sarah, if you can.
Hey, Bill, you're on. Do you have both screens up?
It went away.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you flip screens?
Hold on here.
Sorry to interrupt you, Bill.
No, it's okay. I need to share the right screen. It sounds like I've got the wrong screen shared. Either that or I need to. Hold on here. See if I can go back. Let me try to stop sharing and then see if I can get the presentation to go again. All righty. Because it sounded like it wasn't doing the actual presentation. It was actually showing just the slideshow.
There we go.
Looks good.
Okay, does that look better?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so apologize, I'll start over on this one. The project was identified in the Metro Area Travel Improvement Study, or MTIS as it's known to others. MTIS is a collaboration between NDOT and the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency. MTIS provides a comprehensive study that recognizes the future interstate and freeway system needs in the Omaha area. This is the first of a number of projects related to MTIS that will be presented to the Highway Commission over the next few years. The project is also identified as part of the next 10 years of the Build Nebraska Act. So why was this interchange one of the projects that was part of MTIS and DNA? First reason is system modernization. Both the 204th Street and 180th Street interchanges have been updated to handle increased traffic. This interchange was originally designed to serve rural traffic, but today it has more than 68,000 vehicles travel through it per day. This was the most traffic compared to other West Dodge Road interchanges that were studied in 2016 as part of the Build Nebraska Act. There's also plans for development around this area with Methodist Hospital in the Northeast Quadrant and a number of other existing businesses in the area as well. During a January 2016 public outreach effort, stakeholders in the area presented NDOT with development opportunities that were estimated between $200 million to $600 million. City of Omaha has almost completed a 4-lane expansion project south of the interchange to handle additional traffic through the area. And as shown on the picture to the right, a developer has already begun developing the area south of the interchange with a couple of buildings already under construction. So why a diverging diamond interchange? The purpose of a diverging diamond interchange allows two directions of traffic to temporarily cross to the left side of the road. The picture to the right shows one that most of you may be familiar with. That is the diverging diamond interchange we have at just west of Lincoln at Northwest 48th Street and I-80. The key to why DDI works at this location is how it handles left turns. By crossing traffic over, it allows the left turns to be made without crossing oncoming traffic, which increases safety and mobility. Advantages of a DDI include lower costs since it is a smaller footprint than most interchanges and would require less right-of-way. Also, in most cases, the crossover area can be constructed within the existing footprint on or below the existing structure, reducing the overall cost as well. Flow of traffic is improved since left turns do not have to cross traffic, which also eliminates the need for additional signal phasing since left turn signals are not required. Reduction in signal phases also reduces delays. Besides reducing delays, other safety benefits include shorter pedestrian crossings, fewer conflict points, which means fewer opportunities for collisions, resulting in a reduction of crashes. 1 year after Missouri DOT constructed the country's first DDI in Springfield, they compared the number of crashes over the past year with the number of crashes of the previous 5 years with the old interchange configuration. They found that 46% total reduction in crashes, right angle crashes were reduced by 72%, and left turn crashes were totally eliminated. NDOT advertised a request for quotation or RFQ in October of 2019. A number of proposals were received, and in December of 2019, Kirkham Michael and Associates was selected to provide design services for the project, with SRF Consulting and Wilson and Company providing sub-consultant services. Notice to proceed was given to Kirkham Michael in June of 2020. The project is split into a conceptual design phase and a preliminary final design phase. As I mentioned, phase one is the conceptual design phase. The goal of this phase is to verify if the DDI is the right option at this location. The key tasks of the phase are shown here. The traffic study results will be used to assist with conceptual design and if the DDI can fit within the constraints of the existing structure, thus eliminating the need for rebuilding the overpass on 6. The traffic study collected data in 2020, but the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, data that was obtained from a traffic study done by a developer in 2016 with data verified by the City of Omaha in 2017 were utilized as well to develop our final traffic model. NDOT reviewed the final traffic model with our consultant and the City of Omaha, and we are confident that the data is correct. From the consultant study, they determined that 6 through lanes would be desirable beneath the US 6 bridge, along with 2 dedicated right turn lanes two dedicated right turn lanes for the US 6 eastbound on-ramp and for the US 6 westbound on-ramp, off-ramp, as well as other recommendations. Once completed, the consultant will begin their conceptual design, which will include preliminary horizontal and vertical alignments, cross-sections, limits of constructions, and a refined estimate. Once we complete the conceptual design phase, we'll move on to the preliminary and final design phase. The goal of this phase is to develop plans to be left for construction. The key tasks of this phase will be preliminary design, right-of-way, all our NEPA tasks, final design, and plans preparation. Current schedule for the project shows a planned turn-in in the spring of 2023 with a tentative letting in the fall of 2023 and 2 years of construction to follow. Now, before showing a couple slides on the early conceptual design, I'd like to talk a little bit about public involvement. Communication is essential with all of our projects at NDOT, and even more so with a project of this scale. There are a number of stakeholders involved, and we need to make sure that they are aware of our plan. In phase one, we've had a number of meetings with the consultants, City of Omaha and MAPA. We held a kickoff meeting in the end of June of 2020 and visited the site in October of 2020. We've met twice to discuss the traffic study, most recently last week, and we plan to have more meetings during the conceptual design phase. We've also held 2 meetings with stakeholders in the area on the dates shown on the slide. The stakeholders that attended are shown on the slide here as well. During phase 2, we plan to have a number of meetings, including the plan in hand and other public involvement meetings, possibly a public hearing, as well as additional stakeholder meetings. Now, finally, this slide shows what the early conceptual design here. I'd like to point out the sidewalk, because we talked a little bit about the sidewalk and that. If I can switch over to, trying to see if I've got a different pointer here that maybe you can see. Can everybody see the pointer?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So what you can see is in different interchange configurations, the pedestrian would have to cross all lanes of traffic there. What you can see here is the pedestrian would be able to go across this lane with the right turn lane, and then they would cross over this main line traffic, utilizing the median, as we talked about earlier, and then they'd go across this lane, and then again this other lane here. As I mentioned, if they were trying to go from this point to this point, they would end up having to cross over here, and then possibly cross again over these 4 as well. Also, just want to point out for the mainline traffic, we'll look at the southbound direction. You can see as southbound, they'd have a signal here at this location before crossing over to the other side, and then continuing through there, and then crossing back over to the other side once they get through that light. And this does point out here, as you can see, that left turn that we have here that we do not need to signalize. If we had any type of different interchange configurations, like on other interchanges, that traffic would be over here. We'd have to have a dedicated left turn here, where they would have to cross over the traffic, oncoming traffic, as well as merging onto the ramp. This just shows a rendering of the early conceptual design. This is looking from the southwest to the northeast. You can see Methodist Hospital in the upper portion of the picture. You can see the lanes and also sidewalks they've got in there, along with the median and the barrier separating the pedestrian traffic from the 192nd Street traffic. And finally, this is a little closer view of it. This is from the north, looking to the south. You can see on this one again, the median that they would utilize, pedestrians would utilize, separated with a barrier. And then also we've got some traffic signals in the rendering where you can see cars would be crossing over as well. And as you can see in this direction, that left turn that vehicles would take to merge onto the ramp as an example as well. That is my presentation. Greatly appreciate you letting me take the time to present this to you, and I will try to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. This is Alec from District 2. The median there, will it be clearly designated as a place for pedestrians to walk, or will they just kind of be expected to know that that's okay for them to use?
It is designated for them to walk there. It will be, as you can see, You've got the bridge structure there with the pier in there, and we'll have it so it's, basically the two directions that they can go, and it'll be marked that way as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Bill, thank you a lot. We appreciate that. Are there any other questions from the commissioners? If not, now we'll go to Todd with the US 75 corridor study.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you, Jim. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Todd Hill. I am the project studies and survey engineer for the department. Today, I'm going to be providing a very brief update as to the status of the Northeast Omaha US 75 corridor study that we've been working with on MAPA. I should probably wait until Sarah catches up, but it's only brief because we haven't gotten to the point where we've gotten a consultant on board yet to kind of help start this effort. We have had numerous conversations and meetings, but so in the near future, 6 to 12 months, hope to be able to provide you a more complete update. If you want to jump to the next slide, Sarah. So before necessarily getting into the details of what this study will be focusing on, I thought it'd be ideal to provide a little bit of background on the US 75 corridor, specifically in the Florence area in Northeast Omaha. This is not the first time that this stretch of US 75 has been analyzed. As far as I know, I guess the most recent study completed was back in the late 90s, conducted by HDR for MAPA. And the intent of that study was to look into making the direct connection between I-680 to the north to Epley Airfield a little bit more efficient. I don't know how many of you on the call today has ever tried to head to the north out of Epley to get to I-680, but let's just say that it could improve. It's a very inefficient route, and I think it takes you over a railroad crossing, at least one. So back in the 90s, they looked into trying to improve it. Even further back in the 70s, there was an effort to extend the freeway, the North Freeway, which currently terminates at the US 75 Stores Expressway interchange. It would have obviously extended to the north to tie into I-680. As you could imagine, that project received a lot of pushback from the public due to the anticipated impacts to homes and businesses in the Florence area. As a result, this existing connection travels through main commercial and residential districts within Florence, which create some perceived noise and traffic impacts due to the number of the amount of freight that moves through that area. Coming primarily from the North Omaha Industrial Warehouse Cluster, which is located just to the south and southeast of Florence. They're trying to access I-680 to head north. These concerns prompted the Nebraska State Legislature to allocate funding towards the development of feasible solutions in the area. That was back in 2019. If you want to jump to the next slide, Sarah. LB 129 was a bill that it was introduced by Senator Justin Wayne of the 13th District that would appropriate funding to conduct a feasibility study to evaluate potential transportation and economic development benefits of constructing an additional Missouri River bridge crossing. This bill was later amended into LB 294, but it did appropriate $100,000 of state funds towards this effort. Next slide, Sarah. Last February, MAPA hosted a stakeholder meeting that included representatives from NDOT, Iowa DOT, both cities of Omaha and Council Bluffs, a whole slew of individuals that we all thought would have a vested interest in this effort. The intent was to discuss the upcoming project and get their inputs as to what the perceived issues are in the area and some of the history, and kind of help take their input to figure out what the intended outputs and goals of a study would be, and kind of the process we would need to follow to get to that desired outcome. in my mind, probably one of the biggest takeaways from that effort was the realization that this study could not just focus exclusively on a new Missouri River Bridge crossing. The reasoning behind that was due to some of the concerns about whether or not the Iowa side of the river was even feasible to develop it. As it currently stands, there is no flood protection, and you can see it in the map on the screen. It's the tan color within our study area. It's not protected currently, and so it floods quite frequently whenever the Corps of Engineers increase output at Gavin's Point Dam. The other concern was whether or not, and I can't remember if it came from Council Bluffs or the Pottawatomie County, but there was significant concerns about whether or not it'd be even feasible to get the necessary infrastructure in that area to allow for that area to even develop. As a result, the study will still analyze a Missouri River crossing alternative, but it'll also include additional potential solutions that will focus on realigning US 75 through Florence, and or possibility of rerouting US 75 onto other corridors within the study area, or a combination of the two. Next slide. After the meeting, after additional conversations with MAPA, it was agreed upon that the first step in this study will be to identify what that transportation need is in the study area before even really considering the economic component or opportunities. So essentially the study is going to be broken down into two phases. Phase one will be essentially the engineering component, where we'll be conducting traffic and safeties analysis, project out traffic growth, and then hopefully, assuming that we have the necessary funds, complete a origin and destination study, which will hopefully paint the picture as to where vehicles are coming from and where they're going throughout the study area, all with the intent of identifying what the transportation needs are currently, as well as into the future as we project that traffic out either 20 or 30 years. Once that need has been established, at that point, then we'll develop a broad range of alternatives with the intent of hoping to dwindle those down to a handful of solutions that kind of stand out amongst the rest. Once we have those, phase two would likely start, and the intent of phase two then is to assess what the economic opportunities are in the area for each respective feasible alternative. Once the federal aid MAPA intends on utilizing, in conjunction with the $100,000 that have been provided, once those federal funds have been obligated, the RFQ will be published on MAPA's website. At this time, we hope that will go out here in the next few months, at some point in the spring. That's all I have. The next slide, Sarah. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer them. Nope.
Evidently, no questions. Thank you, Todd. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Great presentation. I want to thank Todd and Bill and Ty for the contributions today. They were great presentations and eye-opening. At this time, it's time for our public input. Sarah, are there any letters for the record?
I haven't received any letters. I'm going to check if anybody on the call wants to participate in the public input section. You should have a hand icon. If you raise your hand, I can unmute your line.
Okay.
Not seeing any.
Nobody from the public? Okay. Well, I guess remarks from the chair and also the rest of the commission. One thing that this brings to mind, is something I heard years ago when I was a kid. It was, and it was progress is our most important product. That was a company that kind of had a slogan. You know, that's kind of what this meeting was all about. A lot of progress going on, and it's pretty exciting. So, is there anybody from the chair would like to add anything? Any remarks? Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, Sarah. Guess not. Well, if not, Sarah, you want to give us the public meetings calendar?
Yes, the next scheduled meeting we have is on March 26th. It's going to be 8:30 in the MPC Suite in La Vista. And we'll push out those details a couple weeks in advance. But it looks like we'll be there in person in March as of right now.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, if there's no other comments, I guess we're adjourned. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a good day, everyone.
You as well. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Sarah.